Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Sideboard Files, HEDRON.TV. My name is Manuel, I'm your host, and this time I'm joined by my good friend, Tobias Mieth.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again as well. Yeah,
it's been some time.
Yeah, it's been some time.
Yeah, it's been some time, so true. Welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here. And going straight to the point, Grand Prix Birmingham.
Yes.
You were there.
I was there.
You attended the legacy portion.
I attended the legacy portion.
Your run was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was my best run so far I had. I ended up 40th. So even 2 pro points, some money.
Nice.
Fine.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Great result. And all these piloting Czech Pile.
Yes.
Nice.
That was my deck of choice for the GP.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. So we're going to have, of course, look at sideboard choices and discuss a few sideboard plans. Mm-hmm. Before that, let's have a look at the list displayed right now on screen.
Yeah.
So why Czech Pile and why? What's going on with your list in particular?
So there's several reasons why I choose to play a Czech Pile. The first reason was like the deck I'm most well versed with in Legacy is normally Storm, but I play a lot of different decks. I started Legacy with Grixis Delver. Thanks, by the way, to my friend Kevin Wagner, who forced me to play a lot of Legacy when I started Magic, like only 3 years ago. So this is kind of a funny result that my first major tournament where I win something is actually Legacy.
All right.
When I'm just playing for 3 years now. And the thing is, Storm is not really good right now in the meta because there's a lot of Grixis Delver around, there's a lot of Czech Pile around, like this blue, black, red control shell. I mean, with Delver, it's not like a real control shell, but it's like aggro control, which is even worse for you as a combo deck because they have a clock, so you don't have much time to draw out of their permission spells, which you might see with Gitaxian Probe or any discard spells you bring to the board. And when they have a clock, it's really hard. Mm-hmm. And they have like a lot of soft counters with days and spell pierces at times. So I decided, well, Storm is not the deck right now. And then I looked at the meta. Well, most people are playing Grixis Delver. Why not go a bit bigger and then play Czech Pile? And besides, Czech Pile always reminds me of my favorite Highlander deck, which is Grixis Planeswalkers.
All right.
It's like a Grixis Planeswalkers deck, and it has like, especially in the one-offs, it has like a lot of correlation to what I play here, and was like a major inspiration for my one-offs.
Okay, so you find yourself like, at home somehow, and fits your play style and everything.
I mean, with the Grixis deck, I don't play green, but Leovold is just too good to not play. And,
sure.
As you are a grindy deck, you want the green splash for the Death Ride anyways, because life gain is actually pretty relevant sometimes when you're going long.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Your list in particular, I mean, the core we know is set, these cards set in stone, but we have a few one-offs. Maybe you want to talk about those?
Let's start in the land section. There's one wasteland, and I have 2 basics. 2 basics is somewhat common. Some people don't play any basics because they say, well, I need to play a double black spell on turn 2, maybe double blue on turn 3, black red on turn 4, whatever. So I need like a lot of different colors, but I think having 2 basics is pretty good right now because Blood Moon is an angle of attack a lot of people are trying at the moment against legacy decks. And the other thing is with the Wasteland, you're a one-off deck. You're trying to find your one-offs for the specific matchup. And there are a lot of specific matchups where you want to have the Wasteland, especially, which is like the most prominent, is like against lands or Turbo Depths because they have the Mild Large combo, which you can break up or disturb like for a bit with the Wasteland and then hopefully clean it up with either a Jace Bounce or an Edict or whatever afterwards.
Okay. The timing with Wasteland has to be crucial though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's important.
Yeah, you normally the best way is to wait for them to combo. Problem is you give them time because when you wait for them to combo, you can just Wasteland after they legend ruled the land.
Yeah, that's important to know.
Yes, that's really important to know. However, sometimes it's even good to force them. If you have, for example, the Edict in hand, you force them to combo and then Edict away. So it's still like not really a 2-for-1, but you've cleared. It's more or less like a 2-for-1. But you cleared the combo and it's fine. So sometimes it's good to force the action with your wasteland.
Yeah, very, very true. Absolutely. Okay.
And for the other one-offs which are of note, I think the Thoughtseize might be a bit special. Some people are playing Thoughtseize, some people are not playing Thoughtseize. I like to have the Thoughtseize because it's like a good catch-all spell, especially in game 1. It gets boarded out a lot, especially against fair decks, because it's not really a powerful spell. However, it always... I mean, that's the strength of Thoughtseize. It always hits something, or almost always. But it's like a decent card almost always.
Sure, versatile.
So it's fine to play, and it's good like in game 1.
Okay, so the removal suite, you have like Fatal Push, couple of copies, but then only one Lightning Bolt and one Abrupt Decay?
Yes, I have 2 Fatal Push, 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Abrupt Decay. I have 2 Color Guns commands, which can be used as removal at times. I have 1 Liliana, which can be like a edict at times. You can bounce with Jace, so there's like different types of removal in the deck. I think right now it would be better to play more Lightning Bolt than Fatal Push, but I really love Fatal Push. so it's like tough, but maybe you want to play more one mana removal spells, because like Deathrite decks are everywhere and you want to kill Deathrites. But the plus for Lightning Bolt would be you can still go after Planeswalkers, which can be pretty annoying for your deck, because you don't have creatures to pressure Planeswalkers. Or not a lot of creatures. I mean, attacking with a Baleful Strix will get you there. Maybe sometimes, but normally like the loyalty uptick of a Planeswalker is enough to outrace a Baleful Strix.
Okay, yeah, sure. And I see what you mean. So in the list you play the Grand Prix, the one we see on screen, you actually have 2 Fatal Push, but now you're thinking about having more bolts.
Maybe like 2 bolts, but I don't know what to cut, but because I still want to have the pushes. It's quite tough, but there's still some room to wriggle around here.
All right, okay. Any other Flexi slot that you would like to talk about?
The counterspell. I really love to play counterspell.
Okay.
Because that's what I love about Magic, saying no to what your opponent wants to do. And Counterspell does this pretty efficiently and against almost anything. I mean, we have better Counterspells in the sideboard for specific matchups, but Counterspell is like Thoughtseize. It's like a good card against anything. And the Counterspell is a card I never bought out. Because this card is amazing against anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
If we're done with the main deck, I would like to go to the sideboard. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So here we have it. 2 Pyroblast, 1 Red Elemental Blast, 1 Hydroblast, 2 Flusterstorm, 3 Surgical Extraction, 1 Engineered Explosives, 1 Diabolic Edict, 1 Pyroclasm, 1 Hymn to Turak, 1 Symbol Library, and 1 Liliana, the Last Hope. So a lot of one-offs here as well.
Yeah.
And what kind of metagame were you expecting, and why is this your selection of cards for your sideboard?
So what I was expecting was a lot of fair decks, which I faced. I played, I think, at least 10 fair decks during 15 rounds. And on the other side of the spectrum, I was expecting really focused combo decks. I didn't play as many combo decks, which a bit surprised me. So I think in the end, the number of surgicals might have been a bit exaggerated. However, I think with your deck, it's really tough to battle them, because normally your only interaction is like a force, and you as a Black-Red Reanimator player yourself know, well, you just need 1 Chancellor and be on the play, and the force is worthless.
Yeah.
And there comes in handy if you have like another surgical on hand. That's why I wanted to have like 3 surgicals. They are good against almost any combo deck. That's the good thing about it. I mean, even against Sneak and Show, where they're not as good, they might be good if you like beat the first wave of threats. You can just get rid of threats out of the graveyard. Besides that, my sideboard is more or less tailored to like beat the fair games. I have 3 Red Blasts. I would play 4 right now, to be honest with you. They are that good.
Okay.
And The Hydroblast was pretty interesting because I cut it for the trial on Thursday from my main deck. And then I realized there's like red everywhere. There were like a lot of burn decks, especially in the lower tier levels, I would say. And there was like a lot of mono red prison around. So I re-added the Hydroblast, which was pretty good to me. I think playing one more would be a bit exaggerated right now, but having one at least is pretty good. Then here in the row with the surgicals, as we're going through the rows right now,
sure.
I hope it's fine for you.
It's totally fine, fine. Go ahead.
There are also the Flusterstorms. I mean, that's like the anti-combo row, more or less. Flusterstorm, Beatstorm, everyone knows that, is good to decent against other combo decks. It can be used against Black-Red Reanimator, for example. Can be used against Sneak and Show. Against Black-Red Reanimator, you have to be careful because sometimes they animate that, and then you look at your Flusterstorm. Well,
sure. Be careful with your starting hand.
Yeah. Yeah, then for the next row, that's like, I would call it the kill row.
Just removal.
Yeah, more or less removal. Engineered Explosives is a bit different. That card I was mostly disappointed with in my sideboard, but I added it because I like the flexibility of Engineered Explosive. I think the best I did was against a mono-red prison player where I blew up some Moxes plus a Chalice, which was pretty good. But the problem is right now the mana curve is really incorporated into Legacy again. So it's not like just 1-drops or just 2-drops or whatever in your opponent's deck. So it's like when you're playing against Grixis Delver, they have like a Deathrite out, they have like a Pyromancer out, they have tokens out. So it's 3 different mana costs already on the board then. And then they play a Delve Threat, and then you have to decide what to kill with your Chalice for like billions of mana.
Yeah, with explosives. It's gonna be
not Chalice, explosives. Another expel.
It's going to be 1-for-1 in many scenarios.
Yeah, and that's
it's harder to take an advantage.
And that's the problem. It's pretty good at blowing up permanents you otherwise couldn't target because Fatal Push and Bolt are mainly for creatures. So like blowing up artifacts or enchantments, which your deck has a lot of problems with enchantments. You only have Abrupt Decay and Engineered Explosives. So for example, Back to Basics or Blood Moon and whatever. Blood Moon can be hit with Hydroblast as well, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But especially Back to Basics could be pretty annoying.
Yeah. That's an annoying card for your deck, absolutely.
True. Yeah. Right. Then we have the last row, which is, I would call it the value row. There's my third Hymn to Turak. I couldn't decide on what other value card I wanted to play, and this felt like the most versatile because it hits 2 cards, so it doesn't matter what deck you're playing, you get rid of 2 cards anyways. And it's pretty funny, this comes in against fair decks, but against some of the unfair decks as well. Especially when they don't interact too much with the graveyard or need like a certain threshold of cards in their hands or combine some cards in their hands. It's pretty good. Yeah, and I tried out like different Planeswalkers in the slot. I even tried out deck Faden, for example, which was okay, but didn't impress me too much, especially as artifact-based decks are going down a bit at the moment. I think this may be due to the use of Kolaghan's Command in a lot of decks at the moment. However, I talked to you earlier, there's a deck Faden version of this deck.
Yeah, when we were preparing to shoot the video.
Which plays Growth of the Burn Willows and Punishing Fire. But that's like more or less a different deck. It's a bit bigger and greedier, but it's really fun.
So in that shell, it would make sense, but in this
shell, it would make sense to play deck Faden.
Yeah, it's
but
not good enough.
That's even in the main deck. So, and then we have Sylvan Library. I really love this card because it's more or less like a Planeswalker, to be honest. You have a 1-use, a turn, and you slowly generate advantage with it. I mean, it's card disadvantage the first time you play it because you just have this useless enchantment in play. However, if you draw at least 1 extra card the next turn, then you break even again. If you draw 2 extra cards, I mean, you pay 8 life.
Sure.
There are some matchups where you can easily afford 8 life.
when there are like decks that are
then
really...
you're even up a card already. And besides that, you have like this virtual card advantage where you filter through your deck with Sylvan Library, so you're more likely to draw like action spells compared to your opponent.
Yeah, if you are having a situation in which you're not really under pressure, certain matchups, your life points are not really threatened.
Yeah.
So you can actually draw more cards.
And I had a lot of raised eyebrows at me when I was like always when I had in like mirror type matches.
Yeah.
I had Sylvan Library out, my first trigger, draw 3. Sometimes I didn't really look at the cards. I mean, in the tournament I did, but I remember one trial I was like, okay, draw 3, then looked at it.
Okay, and your opponent was like, whoa?
Yeah, but I think it's almost always correct if you're not under pressure because you want a card advantage, especially if they have like solutions for the library, like Abrupt Decay, for example. So cash in as soon as you can, and then you can play from there.
Yeah. Okay, and last value card, Liliana, the Last Hope.
This card is so amazing. I mean, some Czech Pile decks are even playing it main deck right now. It's really good.
True. There are some lists actually that have one Jace, one Liliana, and one Liliana, the Last Hope. Yeah.
Correct. It's really good. Especially in the mirror, it kills like Baleful Strixes, it kills Snapcasters. It can beat up other low creature type decks, so like Death and Taxes or Elves or whatever. And you have like the value function where you just rebuy creatures from your graveyard. Totally amazing. and it still stays in play, so you just play it, rebuy a creature from your graveyard, so you got your card back, which you played, and then there's still this Planeswalker around they need to deal with. This is absurd.
Yeah, it is. It's a super great card.
And especially if you have these cool board states where you have like Jace, Liliana, that's where you want to go.
Yeah.
And that's what like totally inspired me from the Highlander deck I told you, because there's always like this, I have like Chandra, I have Jace, I have whatever, and just protect my Planeswalkers.
Yeah, these Planeswalkers control.
And then generate value.
Yeah.
And there's like, that's why Charm is like a 1-mana Planeswalker in this deck. You have Leovold, which is kind of a Planeswalker because he almost always generates advantage. This deck is like ripe with 2-for-1s and card advantage.
Yeah, it's all about it in the end. Yeah. Slowly building your advantage, grind the game.
So one advice I could give you, if you know you're playing against another fair deck, just look at your start hand when you're mulligan and look if you're having enough lands or not. Mm-hmm. So sometimes even keeping like 5 lands, 2 spells is fine with this. Especially if you're playing, for example, against Grixis Delver.
Yeah, depends on the matchup.
Yeah, but especially against these decks where they want to be a bit more aggressive than you, because your spells are so much powerful, so it's fine if you just have enough lands to cast whatever you draw. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I have a couple of questions before we start talking about matchups, and those matchups, maybe some of the matchups you played at the Grand Prix. 2 questions really. First one, you have 3 surgical, you haven't considered having like Night Spellbomb or Graphic Cage. You want to have this interactive instant speed.
Yes, that's what we talked about earlier as well, where you asked me about Pithing Needle. The thing is,
I did before actually shooting the video. That was the next question. You are anticipating me.
I'm anticipating you.
Okay, well, anyway, go on.
Yeah, but it's the same reasoning for why I don't play like Pithing Needle.
Yeah.
It's sorcery speed, and it costs more mana. That's another problem, because Surgical can be played for free. That's pretty important. Why I chose this card. Because I want to have it played when I'm tapped out. Because especially in the beginning of a match, you almost always tap out. It's like a bit tap out control-ish. And then you want to reach the stage where you can go to draw go. And if you have more cards like these, you can go to draw go earlier. And that's where you're normally winning. When you tapped out for a Planeswalker and then just protect it with draw go, for example. Or play it like a Leovold. Just one of your big threats, it's on the board, and then you protect it and generate an advantage with it. And it's like a boa constrictor, you're slowly choking your opponent.
Okay. So last question. Have you considered Marsh Casualties?
Yes, I have, because most people play them, especially because of True Name Nemesis. in the beginning, because we have a monthly tournament around here in Darmstadt, I didn't have the card, so I tried out Pyroclasm instead, because I thought, well, it's kind of similar, doesn't kill True Name, but it cleans up the board, so it might be fine. But then I really grew fond of Pyroclasm, especially as it's so good against Grixis Delver. It's really amazing. I mean, some Grixis Delver lists, they play True Name, but the thing is, what you want to do with Pyroclasm is clear your way for the Edict. So if they have like a Flip Delver, if they have like a Pyromancer, some tokens, they have Deathrite Charm on the board, everything gets cleared by Pyroclasm, no problem at all. And then it's just the big threats left, and then you can easily Edict because nothing is in the way, like sacrificing a Pyromancer token.
The Gorma Gangler or True Name Nemesis.
Exactly. And the problem with Marsh Casualties is it doesn't kill a Flip Delver and it doesn't kill Deathrite Charm, which is even worse, I think. And killing a Deathrite Charm is sometimes even good enough for this card because Deathrite Charm is so good. It's really an amazing magic card.
Crystal clear to me. Right, so we can start, resume. Matchups. Come on, let's talk about some matchups that you faced there at the Grand Prix. And we could start with BUG Control, also known as BUG Leovold.
Yeah.
The one that actually we saw on coverage.
Yeah.
You can actually have a look at this on Twitch if you want to.
Yeah, that's true. I've been on stream. It was round 4 of day 1. It was against Javier Dominguez, who was second Worlds last year.
Yeah, we're talking about a very good player here.
But I got the impression, to be honest, that he's not like really experienced with Legacy. I don't know how much Legacy he played, but I think he made a mistake in the matchup. Because if you rewatch it, you will see, especially in Game 3, he forces several threats of me, starting with like Deathrite Shaman, then forcing like a Snapcaster Mage. And with these 2-for-1s against him, he just runs out of steam.
Yeah, because he decided to keep forces.
And then I slam down like a Leovold and ride home the victory with the Leovold. And I think in these fair matchups, you almost always want to board out all the forces. I can understand the reasoning as he's playing BUG. He has problems with dealing like Jaces or sometimes even Leovolds on the stack because he's missing like the red blasts I have in my version. However, I don't think I would like to keep in Force of Will because it's even like in Game 1, you try to actively shuffle away Force of Wills in these matchups with Brainstorm and Fetch Lands because they're pretty annoying. Sometimes they can be good, I know, but generally it's like a 2-for-1 against you, and this is a matchup where it's about value.
Okay, so the matchup is favored or unfavored from your perspective?
I would say it's almost even because this is an almost mirror. I mean, they're just not playing red. The thing is, in our main deck, red is only for Kolaghan's Command and Bolt, but the real power of red lies in the sideboard here because we have the red blast. That's what they're missing. However, after sideboarding, they have another powerful trump, which is Life from the Loam. On the stream, you can see me fall to Life from the Loam in Game 2. And that was not like even like the most insane thing you could do with Life from the Loam.
But it was enough.
It was enough. Yeah. I remember my last round I played where next to me was another German player, Niklas Holtmann, and he was playing the same deck, BUG Leovold. And he had like an active Jace, had Life from the Loam in his graveyard, so he just dredged Life from the Loam for his draw step, played Life from the Loam, then made a Jace activation, dredged for the first draw step, Life from the Loam again, and suddenly he had like 8-9 cards in hand from like 2 cards or whatever what he had, and this is like insane. I mean,
you would say it's even, but sometimes can go really bad for you because of Life from the Loam.
When they draw from Life from the Loam, it's problematic, and especially if they draw it and you don't have an active Deathrite Charm, because Deathrite Charm can deal with Life from the Loam. That's fine. I mean, they get one-time lands back. Okay, as long as you can exile the Life from the Loam afterwards, it's fine. So that's about it. But it's a bit swingy, centered around this card. Because this card is a real trump.
Okay. So, objectives in the game, post sideboard. What do you want to do?
just generate more value than them.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay.
I mean, normally it's about, okay, who can stick the Deathrite first? And especially, not really protecting it because you don't have counter spells to really protect it against kill spells, but who has like the first Deathrite in play and can untap with it. That's like the first big advantage you have, because then you can start to like play a 3-drop on turn 2, and from then on it's just value grinding.
Mm-hmm. Okay, pretty clear.
Yeah.
Sideboard plans on the play, on the draw, we have the same.
Yeah, it's
what do you side out and what do you side in?
Yeah, it's a grindy game, so it stays more or less the same. What you almost always, or always side out, not almost always remind what I say, always side out all the forces.
All the forces.
All the forces.
Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1 against you. You want to generate 2-for-1, so get rid of the forces.
Yeah. Okay. So force of will, all 4 go away.
Yeah. Then I get rid of the Thoughtseize, because sometimes it's a bit similar to like the black-green mid-range decks in Modern, where you have like these grindy games and then you tend to top deck each other. And when you have Thoughtseize in like this top deck mode, it's not really good. And the last card is normally a Ponder, sometimes 2 Ponders, depends on if you need to bring in another Edict or not.
Okay, so let's talk first about the sideboard planning.
Yeah, what we bring in.
Yeah.
So
with this sideboard plan, we have like -4 forces, -1 Thoughtseize, and -1 Ponder.
Correct.
And then what comes in?
What comes in is the Hymn to Turok, because 2-for-1, it's on the card already.
Yeah, sure.
Liliana, the Last Hope, helps you grind, rebuys Snapcasters, rebuys Leovolds. Amazing stuff you want to rebuy, because this is a card which rebuys a 2-for-1 and then maybe rebuys another 2-for-1, or kills like a Baleful Strix, or kills like a Snapcaster. Amazing. Almost always good. Sylvan Library, as I mentioned before, Sylvan Library, you can generate card advantage by just spending life. And spending life is a resource you can easily work with in this matchup. Normally you're not under too much pressure. Like the biggest clock, I mean, against BUG Leovold, they could have Tarmogoyf, because they're playing Tarmogoyf. However, normally a Tarmogoyf is easily answered by either a Fatal Push, an Edict, Baleful Strix. There are so many answers for Tarmogoyf, so it's not like a real threat. And I think what makes their deck a bit weaker, because Tarmogoyf is not a 2-for-1 normally, because it's almost always just a 1-for-1, or in the case of Baleful Strix, it's a negative 2-for-1 again.
Yeah, sure.
Then the Pyroblast and the Red Elemental Blast, I would group them together. You just I just play a split of 2-1 because of stuff like Meddling Mage, for example. But it's not really played anymore, so I would even consider go to Pyroblast, because Pyroblast has the upside of targeting anything, even if it's not blue. But this doesn't matter too often as well, so it's like functionally the same card. It's a counterspell for blue cards, and even a kill spell for blue cards, which is good. So best target is always like Jace.
Yeah.
Either on the stack or on the board. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right.
And that's about it.
That's about it, really. So we have this other scenario in which you want instead to have...
where I want to have a second Edict.
Exactly.
I bought out a second Ponder.
Yeah, but this, well... Let's define the context. When does this happen?
This happens when you see more stuff like True Name Nemesis, more stuff like Gurmag Anglers, for example. When you see like these big threats which are hard to deal with your other kill spells, which are not pushable, not boltable, whatever, then you want another Edict.
Yeah, okay. In that situation, you want another Edict, so you have 2 Ponders going out and the second Edict coming in.
Yeah.
That's basically what happens here.
Exactly. Problem is, Edict could be bad, because sometimes there are like random Baleful Strixes lingering around, or a Deathrite Charm which gets sacrificed instead of the true name. So it's a two-edged sword sometimes, but if you need answers for these threats which you couldn't normally answer, that's fine. I mean, True Name you can blast on the stack at least, but when it's on the board you can't blast it anymore, so then you need Edict or Liliana of the Whale.
Okay. Well, we said it all for this matchup. We can just go for the next one.
Yeah.
Mono Red Prison, the deck that won actually the whole thing there in Birmingham in the hands of Gary Campbell.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations to him.
Exactly, congratulations to him. And it was pretty amazing when I was there when he won the actual GP, because I was playing a side event somewhere else in the building.
Yeah.
And then there was like this giant draw somewhere, and then I thought to myself, well, is playing like Manchester against Liverpool right now, or Glasgow Rangers against Celtic? It felt like football, actually.
Okay.
But then we realized, okay, a Scotsman actually won the GP.
Okay.
And oh man, they celebrated him. It was like Gary chants and whatever.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah. They also mentioned it in the stream, I believe.
Yeah, you normally don't
really,
get these celebrations on GPs. It was really fun to see, especially for me as a big football fan. This
you felt like
this was
I'm
dear
at the
to my
place.
heart.
Fantastic. Okay, so going back to the matchup, favored and favored. How do you see that?
Depends a bit, because their deck is more powerful than ours. Especially their draws can be much more powerful than ours. If they get their nut draw, it's almost unwinnable. However, they don't get their nut draw very often, as they can't manipulate their deck because they don't play blue. So they mainly bank on their like starting hand and what they draw from afterwards. And if you can shove off like the first aggression, you normally win easily. Especially as their angle of attack in Chalice of the Void isn't that good against you. Sure, it can hit all your cantrips, but normally, like, the powerful cards you want to play are 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana anyways. And with 2 mana Abrupt Decay and 3 mana Colorgan's Command, we have answers for Chalice anyways. So I would say it's normally a pretty good matchup unless they not draw you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If they go like Chalice on the play, you can't play your Deathrite you have in hand, and then Blood Moon you turn 2, and you only have mountains, then okay, they probably win if they present a threat afterwards, but if you can stave off like this early aggression, you're almost always fine.
Mm-hmm. All right, okay. So game 2, game 3, all the post-cyber games, what are your objectives? What do you want to do?
What you want to do is still stave off like the early aggression, especially the way they try to lock you out. And then afterwards, like clear up the mess they leave, random win conditions maybe left, or some random Trinispheres or whatever is still left. But the first priority is always Blood Moon.
Okay,
Blood Moon. Keep them off Blood Moon as good as you can, or fetch around Blood Moon and Deathrite around Blood Moon, whatever. Do anything to just have their Blood Moon not being as impactful or not even on the board if possible.
Mm-hmm. All right, so sideboard plans. Before going into detail with the cards, if I understand correctly, you want to explain that it could be different.
Yeah, that's true.
So sideboard plans could be different depending on what you see in game 1.
Especially what you see in like the creature or threat suite they have, because like the way they try to lock you out is almost always the same. It's Chalice, Trinisphere, Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon. That's always the same. But then how they want to finish the game is different. There might be old school decks with like Koth of the Hammer, with Chandra of I don't know what the old Chandra is called. I think
I don't remember.
Pyro,
I remember only
whatever.
I remember only Torch of the Files because that's the most common now.
That's the most common now, and the one you should always play because it's so good. Some have like Rebel Masters, some even have Hazards right now, which is like a new addition, and it depends a bit on what you see, especially in the number of edicts. That's what I debate here.
Okay.
Because especially against Hazard, and there might be different threats. Sometimes you see really strange cards, how they want to finish the game, because how they finish the game doesn't matter as long as it's like it costs more than 3 mana, or at least 3 mana, is red, and can somehow punish you for being like a 2-3 color deck. And if you see like a lot of Hazards, you need edicts, because you have no other way of dealing with this Hazard than edicts or Lilianas. And it revolves a bit around how many Hazards you see, how many edicts you want. Sometimes you want like, okay, I want all my edicts, bring in one from the sideboard, don't board any out, so I have 2 main deck, none in the sideboard. Sometimes you don't see any Hazard, then you can easily say, well, Edict is gone, go to the sideboard. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes they have like a mixed threat base. Sometimes you have even seen Rebel Master combined with Hazard. Sometimes Chandra with Hazard or Chandra with Rebel Master. You don't know. And if you don't really know, then sometimes playing it 1-1, just like it is main deck, is fine.
Okay.
Because then you can still decide after game 2 if you have more information, maybe if you want the edicts or not.
Right. So let's assume that you need Diabolic Edict. In that case, what do you side out and what do you side in?
So if I need Diabolic Edict, what I side out is 2 Fatal Pushes. 2 Fatal Pushes get sideboarded out always.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you might say, well, but you could kill Goblin Rebel Master with the Fatal Push. But then there's like this pesky Blood Moon they could have. Because
you don't fetch. Yeah.
because our main thing to activate Revolt for our Fatal Push is like fetching. And banking on this is like not good to work out. And the other thing is Rebel Master is normally that big of a threat. If we have a Deathray Charm out, we can always block the tokens. And then we just need another Baleful Strix so he can never attack with the Rebel Master itself. And then it's fine.
Yeah.
However, what I said before is we need to stop not the threats they want to finish the game with. We need to stop their way of locking us out.
Yeah.
So Fatal Push doesn't help us against Chalice or against Blood Moon. That's why it needs to go always.
Okay.
I keep the Bolt. The Bolt is fine because it still works if we're Blood Moon.
Sure. Very true.
That's pretty fine. We have millions of red sources, so Bolt all day. Can kill Rebel Master, can kill even like this Scrap Clan Berserker, which is like this Eidolon with Renown thing. And it can target Planeswalkers.
Yeah, that's also true.
Which is pretty decent sometimes. If they drop like a Chandra and we need to get rid of it, we can snap bolt it, for example. And what we bought out as well, besides the 2 Fatal Pushes, which we always bought out, is 3 Ponders. So the thing is, we want to get rid of 1-mana spells because we want to make their Chalice as unimpressive as possible by configuration. It's already not quite impressive, but if we get rid of more 1-mana spells, it's pretty good. And we get in, like, look at what we get in. Sylvan Library, 2 mana. We get in a Hymn to Turok, 2 mana. We get in Engineered Explosives, can be any mana cost you like.
Sure, absolutely.
We get in Diabolic Edict, 2 mana. Well, we get in a Hydroblast, but Hydroblast is 1 mana. However, it says kill target spell in your deck. Because all their spells are red, besides the artifacts, okay? But you can kill a Chandra on the stack, on the board. You can kill even a Hazard on the stack, not on the board. You can kill a Rebel Master. You can kill a Blood Moon. You can kill a Magus of a Moon. You just kill anything on side.
Yeah, so it's worth having it, even if it could go under Chalice of the Void.
Yeah, this is really amazing, this card, against this deck.
Right, so this is a cyber plan you go for when you want to Diabolic Edict.
Yeah, if you see Hazards and you're definitely sure, okay, one of the angles of attack is Hazard, I want Edicts.
Sure. And what happens instead when you don't need any Diabolic Edict?
Yeah, then you have a lot more space because then you don't bring in the Edict. So what you bring in then is just the library again, the Hydroblast again, the Hymn to Turok again, and the Explosives.
Yes. Okay.
Explosives are pretty amazing in this matchup because blowing up Chalice, blowing up the Moxen.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Sometimes you can even get a 3-for-1. And if you blow up Moxens with this is like blowing up lands. Yeah, and what you bought out in this case is, again, the 2 Fatal Pushes, the 1 Edict, because you don't need it anymore. Now you can board it out. Which leaves a bit more space for keeping in a few more Ponders. You just bought out 1 Ponder then.
Okay.
Because with Ponder, you can hopefully still do something. At worst, you can pitch it to a Force.
Yeah. Right, very good, all crystal clear. So we can move to another matchup. Grixis Delver.
Yeah.
It's most popular, probably.
Yeah, most played deck in Legacy at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, even I started with Grixis Delver and Legacy, but before it was like this like
Beast.
oppressive beast. I mean, when I started playing Legacy, it was still Time of Miracle with the good old lock with Sensor's Divining
and
Top.
counterbalance. Right. Okay. So pretty popular. I mean, you played against Grixis Delver several times, I guess, in Grand Prix Birmingham.
3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times. Okay. A few rounds. All right. So matchup, favored, unfavored.
It's pretty favored. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to play this deck, because you're not like insanely favored. It's not like 90-10 or whatever. But you're definitely favored because you're doing what Grixis Delver is doing in the core, but your payoff spells are a bit bigger and a bit more efficient and a bit more 2-for-1-y. And as long as you can, they are more aggressive than you. As long as you can survive the early game, you will almost always win.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I wanted to play a Czech Pile. Because I want to beat up.
As you mentioned before, you want to have an advantage there.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Post sideboard objectives in game 2 and 3. Or maybe just 2 because you won the first one.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. The subjective is always to survive through turns 1 to 3 with enough lands in play.
Okay.
That's what you almost always want to achieve. And from then on, it's mostly just keeping the board clear and then pushing your advantage with, be it Kulaghan's Command, Hymn to Turak, any 2-for-1 you can imagine. A Planeswalker which ticks away turn after turn.
So defending your mana base, slowly building your advantage, and control the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. Right, sideboard plans on the play, on the draw.
It's the same.
It's the same.
It's totally the same because you want to grind them out and you want to grind them out the same on the play, on the draw.
Okay. What do you side out and what do you side in?
So we side out all the forces because, as we said before, forces might be useful sometimes, especially if they want to temper you. Could be reasonable, but normally you just want to, for example, if you want to force like a Pyromancer, it's better to like push it, for example. You don't want to 2-for-1 yourself. That's about it, mainly.
Yeah.
So you want to have more answers. We bought in a lot more answers, so we can easily board out the forces, because we don't want to answer the stuff on the stack, we want to answer it on the board. And that's actually pretty easy to do because their threat base is mostly creatures. Besides that, we bought out the Thoughtseize. First reason is they have more or less redundant threats in their hand. There's not like the one spell you need to snatch anyways. And the other reason is the life loss. Because they're aggressing our life total, so in this matchup, it's really tough with your life total. And then I get rid of 4 ponders, because in the beginning you don't have time to ponder. What you want to do normally is like turn 1, push the Death Rite, turn 2, counterspell or Hymn to Turak or whatever. And then from turn 3 on, you hopefully are in the position to present threats or maybe clean up what's left. So
you want to take advantage straight away.
Yeah, and you normally don't have time to ponder, and as you bring in a lot more good cards for the matchup, you don't need to ponder as much. That's why I want to get rid of the ponder, because especially in the first 3 turns, you need to be pretty focused. You need to just curve against their curve, and then from then on, you normally win if you do that.
Okay. Very, very clear, very straightforward. Right, so what do you say?
What I cite in is the Sylvan Library. The Sylvan Library can be a bit sketchy because, as I said before in this matchup, you're under pressure. Your life total is under pressure. You can't be as liberal with your life total in this matchup. However, the filtering of Sylvan Library is pretty good. Especially if their angle of attack is to wasteland you turn after turn. Then Sylvan Library might help you find new lands to just play more lands again. Or if they just present like a True Name Nemesis, a Gulmak Angler, whatever, then it helps you find your Edict, your Liliana, whatever you need for that situation. So it's still fine. Hymn to Turak, because again, 2-for-1, simple 2-for-1. That's one of the good cards where you can curve against them. They might daze it, but even if they daze it, okay. That's not a card where you're unhappy if they daze it, because it's still like a 2-for-1 against them, more or less. Then Pyroblast, Red Blast. Against any blue deck, amazing. You can kill Delvers, you can counter their Dazes, counter their Force of Wills, whatever they bring.
So many users, yeah. Absolutely.
Liliana of the Last Hope. Liliana of the Last Hope kills Young Pyromancer. Amazing. Kills unflipped Delvers, kills tokens, and if you're out of the stage of killing stuff, you can start to generate value with Liliana. Then Hydroblast. I like to bring in Hydroblast because they have a lot of red spells which are actually relevant. It's good in the Pyroblast counter wars, where you can suddenly, I have a blue blast for your red blast.
Sure.
You can even kill like resolved pyromancers and stuff like this. So
yeah.
It's decent. It's not like the best card in this matchup, but it's pretty fine. Pyroclasm. I think Pyroclasm is pretty good against Grixis Delver because it deals with anything besides Delphrets and the True Name. So this is like a slam dunk for this matchup because this is normally the 2 you want to play on turn 3, for example, where it's like daze proof. When you have 3 lands out, it's daze proof. Play it, clean up everything they brought, and then you have time to breathe, maybe develop a threat next turn. That's normally where it's like the best on turn 3.
That's the sequencing you want to do.
Yeah. And it's normally like this. They have like turn 1 Deathrite or Delver, turn 2 maybe Pyromancer, and then on turn 3 they play something else, and then you get 1 more creature with it, hopefully. That's pretty amazing. And the Edict you want to bring in, because Edict is still fine. It might look atrocious sometimes in the face of a young Pyromancer, but you can't have it all.
You can't have it all.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right, okay. So, I guess we said it all for this matchup as well. So we reached the end of this episode. Well, thank you very much for taking your time, for being here, Toby. And you are coming back because I would like to talk about a few more matchups.
Yep.
So there's going to be another episode pretty soon about Czech Pile and with your experience, the Grand Prix, seeing a little bit more matchups, what to side out and what to side in. But for the moment, that's it. So thank you once again. And a big thank you to all of you who've been watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to reach us on Twitter and Facebook, facebook.com/HEDRON.TV, twitter.com/HEDRON.TV. And of course, stay tuned on HEDRON.TV for more content to come. For now, it's goodbye.
Goodbye to everyone.